Marketing healthcare consultancy based in Chicago. He's also the executive director for Climb for a Cause and the Smile Tree and founder of AAA Now Smile. And I applaud you for your efforts in all of those areas.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Bobrow has been published in Dental Economics, Dental Products Report, New Dentist, CDS Review, Dentistry Today, Modern Hygienist, the AGD Impact, Dental Compare, and quite a few other professional related publications. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics from the University of Illinois and an MBA in Finance and Marketing from the University of Chicago. And I'll have a hard time pronouncing it.
Try KUL.
Yeah, KUL. Thank you. Spelled respectively. And has received various certifications ranging from insurance and real estate to wilderness first aid. He is a member of the American Academy of Private Physicians, the Academy of General Dentistry, American Academy of Dental Practice Administration, and the Speaking and Consulting Network. Daniel is author of The State of the Art in Dentistry Marketing, co-author of Powerful Practice Volume 2, The Marketing Insider in What's Working in Marketing Today, columnist for Dental Products Report Online, and Dental Economics Magazine. He is also one of AAOSH's founding treasurer and member of the executive committee and is current marketing committee chair. Please help me give him a warm welcome to Daniel Bobrow, who will present to us today.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that very much. And good morning, everybody. Good morning. Quite a weekend, wasn't it? Wow. I mean, sometimes I felt like I was being hit with a fire hose, and that's why I got the DVD on order. I'm going to play it probably some of those lectures maybe at maybe 1/4 speed and just take it all in. But what a great opportunity to add to our oral systemic wheelhouse as far as the clinical components and head back to our offices with such a wealth of information and knowledge. And I think it's perhaps fitting that after we've had a chance to receive a lot of that clinical, and we've certainly received some good pearls of management advice too this weekend, that we culminated with a discussion on how to connect with first-time telephone callers. Because at the end of the day, having the information and having the clinical expertise, while necessary, is not sufficient. What's necessary in addition is being able to communicate that information in a way that resonates with our patients, and I think even more so to understand how to communicate with the first-time prospective patient. And I think Jen McGuire summed it up very nicely when she said that we need to be patient. You know, we have the zealotry of the recent convert, and now we want to evangelize the world. And that's great, but people could be staring at you like like they're staring at the sun if we're not careful with how we present it to them. So let's see if we can, there we go. So why did I create this curriculum called The Art of First Impressions? Well, one reason is the sentiment expressed by Tom Orent, some of you may know as the GEMS guy, who states that basically it's kind of a roulette game. If you call any dental practice, the chances are that the call is going to be handled in an effective way and communicated and connected with that caller to convert them into a solid patient appointment. Sometimes it's like a game of roulette. And I think that's a game that we really can't afford to play with our practice. And I think we do a disservice to the community when we don't connect with them and they miss out on an opportunity to receive all that you and your practice have to offer. It isn't simply Tom Orent's experience, however. Since 1989, when we founded AIM Dental Marketing, our goal has essentially and really exclusively been to get the phone to ring, get prospective patients to reach your office. And the sentiment that was most often expressed to me by practitioners was, you just get the phone to ring and I'll take it from there. And being a quant jock, as you could tell by some of my education, I don't like to fly blind, and I don't want my clients to fly blind. So we're very committed to tracking. So when we do a program like a direct mailing, for instance, like this one, the telephone number that appears here doesn't appear anyplace else. It's a telephone tracking number. That number, when someone calls it, will immediately forward to your office, so the transition is seamless to both the caller and the call handler. But what it enables us to do is to quantify the results. So we know how many people called in response to that direct mailing. In addition to that, and perhaps more important, we're able to listen in on the conversations. And what we found was basically our suspicions were confirmed, which is that the vast majority of dental team members, dental practices, would benefit from some coaching on how to connect with these new first-time telephone callers, because it's a qualitatively different experience than speaking with somebody who you know and who trusts you. And I think it's all the more incumbent for a practice like yours that is committed to this third wave of dental care, this higher level of and commitment to the welfare of the community, of the patient, that we acquire and practice the skills to effectively connect with these callers. Because as we said, you can have the greatest technology and clinical expertise in the world, but if you can't get people to buy into it, you're never going to have a chance to deliver it. And that's a shame. So what we're going to cover today is, first of all, what I call setting the stage for success. If you want to be successful at anything, you need to have tools in place. We want to address certain mindsets, although I think in this group we're going to be able to skim over that quickly. I should tell you that this lecture, I delivered it in Florida last week, and it was 3 hours long. So I've distilled it down. I've tried to get it down to an hour because I'd like to have some time to do some exercises with all of you too. And I'm going to make it worthwhile for 2 intrepid volunteers to join us. And it's not the striptease, though. Unless you're willing to wait next year for that. Yeah. So we're going to set the stage for success, and then we're going to talk about the components of communication. What are the components that comprise effective communication? And while we're at it, we're going to naturally flow into something that we have to address, which is what I call the visual gap. That'll become clear shortly. We want to also avoid falling into a trap that I call the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's very detrimental to the effectiveness of any marketing programs or your ability to convert these first-time callers. We'll talk about positive and negatively charged words and the impact that they can have on your ability to connect and close these callers, as I call it. And we'll then discuss the 3 building blocks, the emotional building blocks, or the foundation that you must have in place before you can effectively connect with these callers. And they are establishing rapport, conveying empathy, and exuding enthusiasm. And then we'll discuss the art and science of questioning and listening. All of these culminate in agreement or connecting with the caller, which is what this is all about. Come on. We'll also have a few exercises, but not this kind, so not to worry. Well, they do have a very nice gym here. I don't know how many of you had a chance to see that. How many have been to the fitness center? Okay, that's not bad. How many here went to the fitness center because of what they saw and were guilted into it by all the lectures? Okay, so see, you already had good habits. That's good. Excellent. Okay. So I do want to make a few assumptions, and if we can agree on these assumptions, then we can spend a lot less time on these this is actually an element of setting the stage for success. But I'm assuming that you and your team are enthusiastic about mastering the art of first impressions, that you weren't drag kicking and screaming here, by the way, or it wasn't a condition of your continued employment or anything like that, that this is important to you and you get it, and that you care deeply about delivering the very highest level of care for your patients and your community. And I think that's a safe assumption also. And also that anybody who's in danger of answering your phone is equally passionate and gets what you're doing. Those are the 3 keys. I can't, and I'm not in a position, and I wouldn't pretend to be in a position to coach you on clinical aspects of your practice, nor would I be in a position, would I ever attempt to try to get somebody to care who doesn't care. So we're going into this, my assumption is that your team members who are answering the phone care deeply about what you do and they're proud of it. So my job is relatively simple, it's just to get them to convey that over the phone. Oh, the candy that's going around and the sign-up sheet. That candy is from Dr. John Bruinsma. He's actually a member of AAOSH. I have no monetary connection with him, but he's been very generous at letting me distribute his candy. That's xylitol. If you're going to eat it quick, because if you get called on, you're going to have a hard time being understood. But it's TAFI, and it's delicious, and it's good for you. And the reason we're distributing TAFI is that the art of first impressions happens to have an abbreviation of TAFI. And the goal of TAFI being a coaching service is that you can walk out of here saying, boy, that was great stuff. If you don't take it home and practice it, TAFI won't stick. So we want TAFI to stick. So keep that in mind and let the candy engage your senses to maybe help you help reinforce that. Also, by completing the sign-up sheet, we'll deliver a complimentary practice telecommunications assessment to your practice. We'll also get you the current handouts. And I hope that there weren't too many people besides Dr. Norman that took the time to print out all those handouts, because I've revised it rather considerably. So let's set the stage for success. The first thing we want to do is ask you to think about what characterizes your environment in your practice. Is it characterized by this, chaos, or can you say that it's this? Now, whether it is or not, that's the goal. Because environment, both external, the physical environment, and the internal environment, the mindset, are going to be critical in you, or if you're a team member, your ability to connect with these people. Show of hands, how many people are practitioners here? Practicing. Okay, how many are team members? Okay, very good, very good. And how many here have had any kind of telephone skills coaching in the past? You've definitely come in the back? Okay. Was it related to dentistry, or did you get it while you were in the dental field? Okay. What did you do?
They just had a protocol to follow when you're answering the phone, just, being very professional, just getting the information from the client and listening to their concerns as you're talking to them.
Okay. And did you incorporate that into your practice?
Definitely.
Okay. And did it make a difference?
Definitely.
Fantastic. Okay. So this stuff works, and it's actually a lot of fun, because as we'll talk, when you have a plan, it reduces stress and confusion, and it enables people to have fun on the job, especially when they understand that these calls are the most important thing in the world at the moment that they're generated. So we're going to be able to go through this quickly because of the assumptions I've made, but these are some concerns that we hear, or more often than not, we don't hear expressed by team members. And it has all to do with a lack of comfort about being on the phone. Either they weren't hired to do it and they don't think it's fair, or they don't think it's their personality. They're being asked to read off a script. They feel it's dishonest in some way. They think it's a waste of time, because we'd rather just work with people that are calling us and say, hey, I'm a patient of record, or I'm the wife of a patient, and my tooth broke, so when can I come in? Those sorts of things are going to interfere with the benefit that you'll derive. So I'm making assumptions that I don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but in fairness to you, I will spend a little bit more time on it. But most often, team members will also express the frustration that, well, once our patients meet us, they love us. And the thing to realize is that they are meeting you, they're just meeting you on the phone. And if you ever want them to come in to experience your practice, you'd better learn how to convert that call into an appointment. Well, here's some scripts you might remember. Go ahead, make my day. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. These have one thing in common. They're all scripts. But they're also memories that are very endearing to many of us. They've actually permeate our culture. And the reason is that the actors who uttered these lines memorized them, made them their own, and were then able to infuse their talent and personality and reality into the scripts so that for us they're true. It's kind of ironic. Jack Nicholson goes in to order a latte, we're probably not going to be that impressed with the dialogue that ensues. If that's a script from a movie, I bet we'll be more impressed. And to a certain extent, we are on stage when we're on the phone. But you don't have to be an actor. If you apply these skills, what you will do is just learn how to let your caring and own personality shine through. And if you don't like the term script, and many people don't, I'm fine with thinking of it as a checklist or a roadmap. A roadmap is a great analogy because we're at point A new telephone call. We want to get to point B, which is a happy patient appointment. And there are points of interest along the way which we must visit. If you want to use the travel analogy, you've got to go eat, you've got to answer the call of nature, you got to go get gas. And so you don't necessarily need to take a straight line to get there, but you do need to hit those waypoints along the way to be successful. So these are some reasons why skills are so important for your practice. It's basically your first date with the patient. When first dates happen, the only way you're going to get a second date is if you make a positive first impression. And the Zunins wrote a book called The First 4 Minutes, which talked about how much time you've got basically to make a good first impression. I think on the telephone, we're probably talking more like 30 seconds. So it's really important, and that's why we're going to spend no short amount of time today on the greeting. We're going to drill the greeting because the greeting is basically a script that I would like you all to get off book, to internalize and then practice it because it works really well. It's your best marketing tool, answering the call effectively. If a lot of people make the mistake into thinking that once the phone rings, the marketing is done. Well, it's only beginning. You know, as I said, we spent years getting the phone to ring, and clients were not getting, and many of them were not getting the return on investment that they could otherwise get, and this was why. So, you know, Bill Rossi and the University of Minnesota did a study about what the average lifetime value is of a patient. And this is an average. Anybody want to guess what their study showed? First of all, the average lifetime of a patient is about 8 years, not the life expectancy. But how long they're going to be with you. And that varies. I'm sure you all have patients who've been with you for 30 years, unless you're not that old. But the average lifetime value of a patient is $4,800. So in a very real sense, when you don't effectively connect with a first-time caller, you have lost, let's just call it $5,000. You may not know it, and when we talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy, the call handler might think, boy, I did a great job getting rid of that price shopper. We'll never have our time wasted with that person, will we? Well, maybe. Then, in general, it instills a perception of quality. This is what branding is about. This is making a promise and then delivering on the promise. So setting the stage for success depends in large part on the equipment that you have in your office and to make sure that it's up to the task. I'm primarily speaking about your telephone system, your outgoing messages, which is what people hear when you can't answer the phone, and your on-hold message, if you have one. Now, ensuring these systems work in concert is also very important. And for that, some examples of that are to answer these questions. Do you know what your outgoing message says? Does your team know? When was the last time you updated it? I called an office 2 weeks ago that was reminding me that with the end of the year approaching that I should use my insurance benefits before I lose them. Okay? Now they might be just very anticipatory. They're getting me ready, though it's July. It's not even July. But I called another office that said that 2009 marks our 11th year serving the New Haven community. Okay? So sometimes it's better to not have a message than have one that does that. As far as outgoing messages, make sure that it references your website, provided that you're proud of your website and that it offers the caller an opportunity to request an appointment. And we're not saying schedule an appointment. Nobody's recommending you lose control of your schedule. But people will call when it's convenient for them. right? They're not going to call when it's convenient for you. They may be expecting to leave a message, but every touch point with a prospective or current patient, you should think in terms of like, now how can I exceed their expectation? And you can say, for your convenience, please visit our website where you can request an appointment online. Okay, just an example. It's nice to know what your on-hold message says, as we talked about it, and it's nice to know what your website is telling people also. Now, in terms of whether your telephone equipment is up to the task, you know, which describes your equipment? And I'm sure that there's a range here. But it's very important, because if you've grown and you've exceeded the capacity of your system, that means that people are on hold, or people are getting busy signals, or you know, the phone is ringing incessantly, or your outgoing message isn't updated easily enough, so that's why it's outdated. Because I feel so sorry for some offices. I'll call them, and the message will say, today is Tuesday, it's 2 in the afternoon, and we're at a team meeting right now to deliver better care to our patients. Please call back at 3 o'clock. So this poor person is constantly updating the outgoing message. With a little more sophisticated systems, you can have an outgoing message that's pre-recorded for extended absences, for after hours, and for during hours. And you can modify it when you want. Well, one thing I suggest you all do, if you're not currently aware of it, is to get to know VoIP or VoIP. And just a quick quiz, what is VoIP? Is it short for the value of information presented? Video over internet package, the sound made by a now extinct velociraptor, that would be VoIP. Or none of the above. If you waited for the last answer, you are correct. VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, or just using the internet for your telephone system. Does anybody have a VoIP system in their office now? You do. Excellent. You too? Okay. Tell us, how long have you had it?
Probably 3 or 4 months now, I think.
How's it going?
Fine.
Any problems at all?
Cheap, no.
Okay.
Lots of money saved.
Cheap and lots of money saved. And you know, I don't know you, and I don't sell them anyway, so that's not why I'm recommending it. I will say one thing. When the internet goes down, you do have a problem, which is why you should have a cell phone as a backup. And you can do that. If the system goes down, it will forward calls, which is nice. But yeah, it's cheap. You don't have to invest in any hardware except the telephones. And I'll actually just pull up the telephone here so you can picture of it. This is a Cisco system. I don't know what you have. But this is one you can get. I think I paid $100 per phone, and it's like $30 or $35 a line. That's incoming and outgoing, total. It's totally scalable. You can add more lines. I'm a marketing firm. I have people who telecommute. They never come to my office. I give them a phone, and their extension is 304, 305, 306, and they can do extended absence greetings. You can even get an email with the voicemail just sent to your to my iPhone. That's what this is a screenshot from my iPhone of a call I got when I was away. They can, of course, be forwarded to you, too. So it really gives you flexibility and freedom. Somebody asked me at the Florida meeting last week, don't you think that depersonalizes the patient experience, because the voicemail is very complicated and frustrating? I said, yeah, if that's what I was recommending, it would. But just because you're going with VoIP does not mean that you have to complicate voicemail. On the contrary, this should enable you to simplify things. And yeah, I hate the voicemail labyrinth as much as anybody, especially when after you've dutifully pushed all the buttons, they say, thank you, goodbye. So these are cordless headsets, and headsets to me equals nothing less than freedom. So I'd like, by a show of hands, to know how many are using headsets in their office today. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. Have the rest of you considered it? Anybody else been considering it? Show of hands. Okay. So for those of you who have not, can I see the hands? Okay. You, sir. Yeah, either one. Why? I see out of one eye, so I'm talking to the gentleman in the pink shirt.
You know, we just never even thought about it. Just, never came to our consciousness.
Excellent. That's probably why most people haven't. Let me tell you why it should be at the top of your consciousness, and perhaps that there's a few things I want you to take away for sure from the lecture today, but this is one of them. And this isn't setting the stage for success. Remember, we're still talking about environment. If it's Grand Central Station at the front desk, and the phone rings, and your call handler, your front desk person says, "Thank you for calling Dr. Jones' office. This is Mary. How can I help you?" "I'll be with you in a second." And you're expecting them to connect with this first-time telephone caller. Is that fair to them? Is it likely to happen? Are you in danger of a workers' comp claim one of these days? You may well be. I literally have not used a handset since 1989. I bought a Panasonic. They weren't cordless then. These cordless headsets now are like 150 or 200 bucks. They have a 300-foot range. They have 3 to 5 hours of battery life. You can place people on hold, and what it enables you to do, we actually use it as a component of our new patient conversion strategy. But the obvious point is that it gives you freedom to walk away to a quiet area, which I hope you all have in your office, where the deals are done, where the case presentation is done, and where the appointments are made on the phone, too. So let me see, who has headsets again? I want to see a show of hands. How long have you had them?
10 years.
Okay, well, that's a long time. I wonder if you even remember. Do you remember if there was a period of adjustment?
I remember it was exciting because they couldn't their throats jump anymore.
Somebody that's had, thanks for that. Somebody that's had the headsets for like less than 2 years, show of hands. Okay, so everyone that has them has had them for a long time. The reason I'm asking is that change is scary. And I've had a number of people that I've successfully encouraged to get the headsets that say, you know, it messes up my hair, which I can't identify with at all, but that they can't hear through it. And it's a different sensation, but they can be calibrated and they have technical support lines. So and if you don't want them, you can return them and get them back. So I strongly encourage you to get the headsets because they spell freedom and they really will help people. Yes?
So I think where you're getting at, which is what is our office, is we've had them for 4 years. And the two women, they have a hard time. They go back and forth with them. They'll put them on. They want the freedom, but for some reason, they like that phone in their hand. That's what they say. They just say, you know, they're both, one is 74 and one is 65. And so it could be possibly that, you know, the change is a bigger hurdle, but yeah, they
Right.
go back and forth. I'll see them on, go, oh, they got them on, and then they go back to.
Well, thank you for sharing, because that's something that if you do get the headsets, you should be, I think it's useful to be prepared for. And you can, there are different models of headset. You know, the ones that go over the head, if you have big hair or nice hair or something, then that's not what you want. But you've got these other ones. This is essentially like a Bluetooth, and it just hangs on the ear. Now, you know, yeah, these people in your office, they may be having hearing issues, or they may just be longing for the good old days. I don't know. But, you know, you do what you can and hope that you can encourage them, because it really, if they're converting, if their job is to answer the phone and to convert callers, it's going to make it easier for them. But I wish you well with that project. Sounds like you're in the midst of it. So, as we said, outgoing message is important because first impressions don't wait. People will call you when they want to call you. So, just a couple of tips on outgoing messages. Maximum 4 rings before it gets answered. And here's another test of whether your telephone equipment is up to the task. If you have a contemporary telephone system, you should be able to switch the number of rings to 0 after hours. Why should somebody wait for the phone to ring 4 times when we know nobody's going to answer it?
That's annoying, yeah.
Isn't it? It's not only annoying, but not everyone's excited about calling the dental office. That 3-ring, 4-ring period of time might just be enough for them to say, they're not going to answer. Or they may go somewhere else, or they may be driving through a bad cell. But we want, again, exceed expectations. They'd call that number and boom, thank you for calling our dental office where we're improving lives one smile at a time. You get into a, you know, they're already impressed. Wow, I didn't have to wait. Simple things like that, they stack the deck in your favor. Somewhere in the annals of time, maybe 1972, a dry cleaner or a pizzeria had the first answering machine, and they put their hours of operation on them. And then maybe somebody else called and heard that and decided to go out and get themselves a Panasonic answering machine, and they put their hours of operation in their business. Somehow it got to dentistry. Unless you are a retail establishment with walk-in traffic and you don't work by appointment, why, or unless you've got really killer hours, you know, that really distinguish you from your competition, don't state your hours on your outgoing machine, because less is more on your outgoing message. And if anything, this just gives people one more reason to not talk to you. So think about that. I mean, in marketing, less is more. We want to have an opportunity, and I recommend 45 seconds at the longest for this message. Talk about why they've called the right place. And like I said, unless your office hours are really something special, I don't really think that's it. And also remember that when you or whoever you assign to make the recording, that they be enthusiastic. Don't think that you're speaking into a machine, because you're not. You're going to be talking to people. And while we're on the subject, select the person with the best voice. You've probably got someone that gives very good phone in the office. Let that person be the person that leaves the message. All right? Now, how many people use an answering service? Okay, I'm relieved, actually, because nobody does. Answering services the good ones are few and far between, and it seems that if they start out good, they never end up that way. I don't know if they're victims of their own success, you know, that they attract so many customers that they can't keep track. But if you ever do